Hi folks, I'm Matt and welcome to My Expanded Universe, a show where I go through the entire Jedi Prince series with a smile on my face. Folks, we are finally here at the very last novel in the epic, legendary Jedi Prince series. And this time it's called Prophets of the Dark Side. Let's just cut to the gist of it. The Prophets of the Dark Side have been at the center of everything so far. And here again, we have a beautiful cover, as you can see there. And in this book, Zorba teams up with the Prophets of the Dark Side, and they're going to get rid of the Moffs, you know. And I guess right now, the Prophets of the Dark Side are feeling a little insecure, and they're thinking, you know what, maybe Zorba's the right guy to back, because he has a beard. Now, over at the Rebellion side, Triclops. You remember Triclops? Oh, wow, what a great character. Triclops turns out to be a sleeper agent. No, really a sleeper agent. Like at night, he sleepwalks and transmits the plans of the Rebellion to the Empire. Now, it's okay because the Rebellion figures this out and they're giving him false information to transmit. Triclops has a transmitter in his tooth. Now, Triclops is a good guy when he's awake, and he didn't know he's a sleeper agent. He thinks he's a good guy. So instead of just telling him, hey, by the way, you're a sleeper agent for the Empire, there's a transmitter in your tooth, can we pull that out? No. The Hoden says, hey, there's a mushroom you can get that will, decommission that transmitter in his mouth. Just have him eat the mushroom. I'm not making this up. So Luke and Ken go after to find this mushroom because, hey, if it works against King Koopa for Mario, it's got to be helpful for them, right? But in that, the Prophets of the Dark Side will capture them and they'll force Ken. They say, Ken, you will show us the lost city of the Jedi, and we'll tell you about your lineage, who you come from. And so he does. He shows them the lost city of the Jedi, and then they reveal it. Now, this whole time, Ken thinks he is the son of Obi-Wan Kenobi, and that's what we're led to believe. And you're like going, oh, no, don't be true. And don't worry, it's not true, because what turns out to be true is his grandfather is the Emperor. Yep, Triclops is his dad, and the Emperor is his granddaddy. And they show a big picture on a vid screen of the Emperor, like smiling or whatever on his throne. And Ken's like, no, it's not true. It's impossible. And you're going, what? Now, Ken doesn't have a third eye like his dad does. At least I don't see one on his face. He may have one, in his armpit or on his belly button, maybe on the top of his foot, so he can always look at himself. It's kind of weird. The Emperor is his granddaddy. He is just so upset about this. And, just fast forward, the Prophets of the Dark Side get swallowed up in an earthquake, and everyone lives happily ever after. Oh, Triclops flees into the Yavin Forest because he can't believe, oh, wow, as a sleeper agent, I'm a bad person. And so he runs away. Before I get to the last little bit, which I want to talk about, they explain the Prophets of the Dark Side later on. It turns out that Kadan was a fake in the Jedi Prince series. And they actually did retcon some of this. They said, yeah, he was a fake, which makes it so much better to think about. Here's this charlatan posing as a prophet of the dark side, and who knows, the rest of them were probably fakes too. And they weren't Sith, they weren't dark force magic, they were just tricksters who convinced the Empire, who are not force sensitive, that they had the force, and they were the Prophets of the dark side. And that's what led them all on these little silly quests about the glove of Darth Vader and all this other silly prophecies that they kept coming up with. It makes perfect sense, folks. We see false prophets, we hear the story of the false prophets all the time through history, so it makes sense that these would be fake prophets. I like that retcon a lot for this. I can't remember who actually brought or made that suggestion, but it was within the C canon there that Kadan was a fake. It was a fake. It wasn't the real prophet of the dark side. So I get there were really prophets of the dark side, but that in the Jedi Prince series was not it. Yeah, it's a quick an easy out from it. Now Triclops, the disappearance of Triclops is not explained. Where Ken is in any other books is not explained. Ken is never mentioned again, and it's sad. I think you could have put them both in there, wrapped it up real quick with a little adventure that kind of, I hate to say it, but kills them off since we don't see them anymore. And I think it'd be great. How great? Well, like kitties vomiting rainbows great. So anyway, let's go ahead and fast forward to the end, because this is another big controversy with fans, and people think this is a contradiction, and it's basically Luke and Leia. They're finally getting married. In fact, they're walking down the aisle, and Leia has a vision that they're going to have twins. And you're like, because, you know, by this point, you know, the Thrawn trilogy was out, or most of the books were out, and so Peter and Hollis Davids knew that they were going to have twins. They said, okay, well, let's give Leia the vision, you know, and this is them about to get married. Now, of course, later on, we had the courtship of Princess Leia, where they get married in a totally different situation, a totally different planet, a totally different situation completely. And I feel bad for the Davids who wrote this, because they spent a lifetime online and in interviews defending their series. And how they defended this one, because this is one where all the fans were up in arms saying, this is a total contradiction. This is proof that this does not exist within the C canon. And they said, listen, guys, and I do believe this, they said it was going to be a 6-part series, and they had talked about doing, you know, 3 more books after this. Now, the next book was going to be called Shadows of Obi-Wan, and they said it was going to happen immediately after Prophecy of the Dark Side, whereas Han and Leia were walking down the aisle, the Empire comes and breaks it up, and then they have to fight off the Empire. And they promised that was what was going to happen, because they said, we knew that we were not supposed to do the wedding. You know, so the next book was going to bust up the wedding, because they were never, he said, if you notice, we almost tried to get them together several times, and it just never worked out. So that was the theme going forward. And to be honest, he's correct. That was the theme in the series, that Luke and Han, that is a totally different series. Han and Leia were going to get married, but then they didn't for whatever reason, and usually it was the Empire. So I do believe him there. Now, I'm not going to say who, but when we were writing the Sequart book, there was an author who wanted to write about the Jedi Prince series, and it was going to be the Jedi Prince series, How Not to Write Children's Books. Now, he backed away from the topic because he felt it was too negative, and he thinks a book that's celebrating the expanded universe shouldn't have something that's negative. A negative essay would not fit well in there, and he changed his topic. Now, the thing is, I'm glad he did. Not because I agreed with him, but guys, to be honest, I really did enjoy the Jedi Prince series. Now, to be honest, I was that age. I was a young lad when the Jedi Prince series came out, about 13, 14, and it hit my sweet spot. Now, I was hungry for Star Wars because the Thrawn trilogy just really ramped it up. So when Jedi Prince came out, I knew it wasn't as good, but I also knew it was a children's novel. And back then, children's novels weren't like Jude Watson. Jude Watson just raised the bar for children's novels. And you had Ryder Wenham do a great job too. Dave Wolverton wrote a few. You had some really good authors come out. But back then, a children's novel wasn't supposed to be that epic. And sure, it has some hokey stuff, but so does the Marvel comic books, which I love as well. So you're not going to find any hate. I mean, I know I've been kind of silly the whole time about the Jedi Prince series, but to be honest, it has a soft spot in my heart. In fact, Barnes & Noble came out with 2 hardbacks of these, and here they are up here. And I can't believe they did this, but they reprinted them in 2 little hardbacks. I don't know how hard these are to find, but I immediately got them. I was like, shut up, I love this. I still have my paperbacks because I love those too. But yeah, it's really nice. It's a fun series, fun for kids. And I don't know, I mean, you have to read it with a little lighter humor and don't judge it as harsh. But I do feel bad for, it says Paul. I was saying Pete this whole time. Whoops. Paul and Hollis. I've been disrespecting this whole time. But anyway, I wonder how many people in the comments have talked to me about that in the past, 5 episodes. Anyway, I thought the series was enjoyable for what it is. Now, should you read this series? I don't know, it's up to you. If you like a little bit of the light side, of Star Wars, then go ahead. If you say, no, Matt, you've made these sound totally ridiculous, I'm going to skip them. I'm totally fine with that. Honestly, as decent as they are for me, they have 0 impact on the expanded universe as a whole, because even though they are, to my knowledge, these are C canon, but however, there's not many resources or other stories that connect to these, and I guess for good reason. And it's sad because, again, a lot of people connect to the Marvel stories because they grew up reading the Marvel comic books. So someone like me, who was just about 10 years off, 10, 15 years off from these authors at the time, I grew up with these. So if I could write, yeah, I probably would make connections to these because I enjoyed them as a kid. And that's what they are obviously made for, like little kids. But anyway, folks, that's all the time I have for now. See you next time with no more Jedi Prince reviews.